On Capitol Hill, reaction is pouring in about President Trump's suggestion to, quote, take over Gaza. Here's the latest from Democrats who are slamming that proposal, calling it, quote, horrific. Listen.
It is very clear that what the president talked about would make our country less safe. An invasion of U.S. troops into Gaza would not make Americans more safe. It would make Americans a target. But this is very clear. I mean, I'm going to just take a wild guess that the president's plans include, hotels and resorts and casinos. That's just who he is.
It is horrific. It is the definition of ethnic cleansing. It is part of the culmination of what I view to be genocide of the Palestinian people. And this is genuinely one of the most horrific humanitarian catastrophes that we've seen in modern history.
And following it all for us on Capitol Hill is CBS News congressional correspondent Nikole Killion. Nikole, thank you for joining us today. We know GOP lawmakers have a different response to all of this. What is it and what have you been hearing?
Well, it does vary. I want to be clear about that. Obviously, House and Senate Republicans aren't a monolith, but we did get a chance to get a sense of Republican reaction by speaking with House Speaker Mike Johnson, who held a news conference earlier today. And I asked him, yes or no, if he supports the president's statement that the U.S. should seize control of Gaza. Take a listen to his response.
We await further details on what exactly that looks like. This is a bold, decisive move, and I think you have to do something to eradicate the threat to Israel. Here's the problem. If you leave Gaza in its current form, there's always a risk of another October 7. There's always a risk of proxies of Iran, all these terrorist organizations whose openly stated goal is to eliminate Israel as a state. So it just makes sense to make the neighborhood there safer. I think that's logical. I think it follows common sense. I think people understand the necessity of it. And we're going to stand with Israel as they work towards this goal. And we'll stand with the president on his initiative.
So even though he said that this is something that would be very bold, at the same time, he didn't definitively say yes or no whether he supports the president's statement. He did, however, say that it's important to have more details and that he intends to discuss those details at some point. It's also worth noting that we expect Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to be here on Capitol Hill tomorrow. So there is an opportunity potentially there, but certainly that is kind of the response we have heard from other congressional Republicans in terms of trying to take a step back and saying, look, let's get more details about this, but at the same time trying to be supportive of the president's stance in the sense of wanting to have more stability in the region.
Okay, Nikole, let's switch gears now to a different issue because we're just 6 weeks away from federal government funding lapsing. Democrats say it's on Republicans to not have a government shutdown. So what are lawmakers doing right now to try to avert that?
Yeah, well, there have been a number of bipartisan discussions happening behind the scenes since the start of the new Congress, understanding that this deadline is fast approaching in mid-March. But at the same time, all of these flurry of actions that we have seen on the part of the Trump administration is really ruffling the feathers of congressional Democrats. So they are finding it more challenging to kind of move forward with some of these negotiations because for them, their bottom line is this, look, you can't try to freeze federal funding. You can't try to shut down these agencies without any kind of congressional approval or notice. And so if we're going to fund the government, we need to adhere to those principles of making sure that congressionally appropriated funds are appropriated. So that is kind of the posture and position that Democrats are taking at this time. Whether or not that leads to an impasse in terms of these negotiations and a resolution in terms of government funding remains to be seen. Time and again, congressional leaders always say that they don't want a federal government shutdown. But on the same token, it is a challenging landscape and environment for both sides to continue these negotiations in earnest, in some lawmakers' view.
And Nikole, let's move on now to Confirmation Watch. Let's listen to what Senator Chuck Schumer had to say about Russell Vought. Vought, by the way, is Trump's nominee to lead the Office of Management and Budget. Let's listen here.
All 47 Democrats will vote against Russell Vought. We're united in our agreement that Russell Vought is a dangerous and destructive choice to lead the Office of Management and Budget. And we saw a precursor to his leadership last week during the dangerous federal funding freeze that crippled, or nearly crippled, critical duties of the federal government and its operation. As the chief architect, chief cook, and bottle washer of Project 2025, it's Russell Vought who is laser focused on undermining our government. He's proven it. Senate Democrats will unanimously oppose him and do everything we can to prevent him from leading OMB.
So, Nikole, the question here is, what does this mean for Russell Vought's path to confirmation?
Well, we will have to see, but Senate Democrats, as you heard there from Chuck Schumer, have made clear that they intend to oppose his nomination. And so what we have learned from leadership aides is that they do intend to hold the floor when his nomination comes up for a vote. So usually the way things work is there's a procedural vote that is taken to move forward with the nomination, to, have debate and then end debate. And so that sometimes can be a period of up to 30 hours. So what Senate Democrats are saying is that they are going to hold the floor during that time, which means we will likely see a number of Senate Democrats come to the floor in opposition of his nomination, at least to try to slow walk the process. Whether or not they can stop him from being confirmed, obviously, they don't necessarily have the numbers to do that, but if they can slow it down, at least for now, that is their main objective.
And meanwhile, Nikole, Trump's nominee for Attorney General Pam Bondi, she sailed through confirmation yesterday. Trump gave her these high remarks moments ago. Listen.
She's going to restore fair, equal, and impartial justice and restore the constitutional rule of law in America. She will lead the Democrats. You know where they're going to, at least she's going to lead them right down. But I think she's going to be as impartial as you can possibly be. I know I'm supposed to say she's going to be totally impartial with respect to Democrats, and I think she will be as impartial as a person can be.
So Pam Bondi sailing through. Who will we see be confirmed next, Nikole?
Well, again, as you mentioned, we're obviously watching the nomination of Russell Vought. As we've been reporting throughout the week, we now know that some of the president's more controversial nominees have been reported out of committee, including Robert F. Kennedy Jr., as well as Tulsi Gabbard for HHS Secretary, as well as the Director of National Intelligence. Obviously, we're still waiting for a firm date for those confirmation votes by the full Senate, but they are certainly now in the pipeline now that they have advanced out of committee. We have also seen other officials advance, whether that is the Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick. His nomination was one of the ones that was up today, as well as others. But certainly we are seeing the Senate, particularly Senate Republicans, try to move as swiftly as they can on these nominations. Another one worth noting, of course, Kash Patel. We expect the Senate Judiciary to vote on his confirmation tomorrow.
All right, Nikole Killion, thank you so much for joining us today.